So obviously the name, best version of me,
Sir.
love being able to have people like yourself on where we're able to collaborate and inspire the people to be the best version of themselves in business, of course, fitness, faith, family, relationships, just life in general.
Yeah.
Where it's the wholeness of somebody rather than just specifically in just one area.
Amen to that.
And just being real. People want to see real conversations where they can relate.
Yeah.
And, be able to be inspired themselves, where it's not so far reached out like, oh man, yeah, okay, he's way up there. It sounds good over there, but there's a big disconnect. In reality, once we pull the covers behind, we're really not that far apart, I mean, there's times I'm a human being, I'm married, I have kids. You may see things on screen, but I have my faults. There's times where I lose it. There's times where maybe I say something that I regret saying as a father, as a husband.
Yeah.
God checks me and says, okay, you got to treat my daughter like a princess. And, I have that time where I'm at the gym and I kind of deal with it over there. And so
iron therapy.
Exactly. People just has to see the realness of who we are. And
well, I'm excited for it, brother. Let's do it.
So welcome back to the Best Version of Me podcast. We're really excited for the guest that we have today. He's a father, a husband, an author, a life coach, a human being who is here to inspire you to be the best version of yourself. Many of you know him, you follow his content, and I'm excited to have a great conversation with him. When I first met him, down to earth, humble guy, been following him for a while, really love his content, and I think it lines up perfectly with who we are here at this podcast, inspiring you to be the best version of you. So Bedros, welcome to the podcast. So glad that you're here today.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. And beautiful studio you've built here, man. I love it.
Thank you.
Yep.
I know you're a very busy man, and I really appreciate you taking the time out of not just your business, but your family, your personal time to be here to inspire other people to really be the best version of themselves.
My pleasure. Yeah.
There's a lot of people who follow you and see your content, and we'll get to that part from there on.
Yeah.
But I really like to go a little bit behind and see who was Bedros before this 2.0 version, where you came from, the journey that took you to get to where you're at today. And then that transitional point of saying, okay, this is where I'm at, but this is who I want to be and where I want to go.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that's a great question to start with. And I just turned 52 years old. And when you're half a century old, you start developing wisdom that cannot be developed in your 20s, 30s, even in your 40s. And I can only imagine what it's like in your 60s and 70s. I always think, experience plus time is wisdom. You can't just assume someone's older and therefore they're wise. But in my case, I've had the good fortune to do a lot of things, try a lot of things, test myself out, put myself out of my comfort zone. And throughout time, I've gained that wisdom. But I used to think that it was a flip of a switch, right? And to some degree, it is. But you're not going to flip the switch in life and go from 1.0 to 2.0. So yes, I'm the 2.0 version of the man that I used to be, or the boy I used to be. Let's just be honest about that. But with that in mind, it goes like you start off as a 1.0, and then you're 1.1, 1.2, and you might hold it there for 5, 8, 10 years, 1.3, 1.4. And it's these micro incremental changes and shifts that happen in your life. Being an entrepreneur, you know this. There is no one thing that you can do. When people DM me and say, Bedros, I want to build a multi-million-dollar company like you have. What's the one thing I can do? They want me to say, just become a better leader, or use this marketing funnel, or try this sales strategy. There's no one thing. I don't know any one way to make $1 million. I know 100 ways to make $1, right? I know 1,000,000 ways to make $1. And so there's multiple poles that have to be put in the water to do that. Same thing in life and in development. So I grew up as a foreigner to this country. I'm an immigrant to the United States. I was 6 years old when we came here. My story is almost like the Cinderella man, because we were poor, we were broke, didn't speak English, didn't understand the culture. We lived in Section 8 housing, 3 or 4 different apartment complexes.
Where at what city?
Santa Ana first.
Okay.
So we flew into LAX from Soviet Union, Armenia. And then my dad had a friend who lived in Santa Ana in a 2-bedroom apartment, he and his wife. And he said, for 30 days, you and your family of 5 can stay in that one spare bedroom. But after 30 days, you guys have to go. I can't. My wife wants you guys out. And my dad was very grateful. literally the next morning, my dad had a paper route, and this guy hooked him up with a paper route. 2 a.m, he's hanging out of someone's van, throwing out paper, a 47-year-old man.
Did you speak English?
No English. Didn't understand the culture, none of it. And that's the thing. Like today, if you and your family were to move to Japan, you just pull out your Google Translate and you're fine, right? You get by. You have maps. You have social media. There was none of that where you can figure your way out. And so you're in Santa Ana, in our case, Section 8 housing, lots of gangs, which, whatever, fine. And then from there, my dad was like, we can move to a better Section 8 housing complex in Anaheim. That one was funny. I was telling Ed and Leighton, one of my sales guys, about it the other day. How old are you?
44.
44. You may remember this. So I'm 52, you're 44. We got 8 years apart. There was a time in the 80s in Southern California where there were apartment complexes that said no kids, no pets.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now,
we grew up in apartments.
Right.
Yeah. Food stamps, welfare, the whole shebang.
And so, dude, my dad, your listeners may not understand this. You and I get this, so let's just explain to them. When you hear Section 8 housing, you might think that it's free housing. It's not. It's subsidized. So the government pays a portion, and then you have to pay the rest of the rent to the landlord, right? Well, so my dad was like, all right, well, that apartment complex is going to cost us, let's say, $600 a month. This one that's no kids, no pets might cost us $400 a month because the government's going to pay for the rest. So he would just tell the landlord, oh, yeah, I don't have any minors. Well, bro, I was 6 years old, 7 years old at the time.
So we would have to be hidden when the the manager would come. We'd have to clean up, and everybody has to leave, and no pets allowed.
That's exactly it. So you're hiding this entire time. And so like my mom and dad would usher me out. I'd have to stay between them early in the morning to go to school. And then at night, they sneak me back into the complex. And then on weekends, when you don't have school, you want to go out and play.
Of course.
And of course, I can't, you got to keep the curtains closed. And so one day, I was like trying to stick my head out the window, look at what all the other humans are doing out there, all the adults. And of course, someone saw that there's a kid in this apartment. They kicked us out. And so I share this with you because my upbringing was filled with like uncertainty, guilt, because I kept getting us kicked out of places that were cheaper for us. And so we'd have to go to more expensive Section 8 housing.
Did you feel that responsibility?
Yeah.
It was you?
Yeah. Not only because of that, but also, I've told this story before on my podcast, but it's worth sharing here. My brother and sister are significantly older than me. And so when I was 6 years old and we came here to the United States, my brother was 19 and my sister was 21, right? So they're significantly older. My sister raised me in Armenia. And so it's almost like I have two moms, right? My older sister, who's 16 years older, is like a second mom. So when we come here, everyone in the family has to get a job. Well, I'm too small to get a job. So once again, you feel the guilt of, I'm just a burden.
Correct.
My sister's got
to watch you.
Right.
Feed you.
Right. So you're really taking and not contributing. Right. And then so my sister had multiple jobs. My brother had multiple jobs. My dad had several. My mom had one, and she was trying to take care of me. One of the jobs my sister had, she worked at a pizzeria and she was a server. And by the way, all of this was like cash under the table, getting paid like below minimum wage. Right. And so she was getting cash under the table for her pay. And apparently the owner of this pizza shop was very sexually suggestive, was very handsy with her. And so she would come home crying some nights to my dad saying, look, I want to quit this job. And he would tell her, you can just work there one more month. We need the money so that we can upgrade to a better Section 8 complex, right? And so being that she raised me and being that I kind of had this deep connection with her, one of the times that she came crying to my dad wanting to quit that job, I remember thinking like, well, this will help her. And I remember thinking to myself, if I could tell her that I'm going to take care of her when I'm older, maybe she'll feel better now. So I said, hey, when I'm older, I'm going to be so rich, you'll never have to work again, right? She just held me and kept crying because that didn't solve her immediate problem. Fast forward 20 years later, I retired her from her job at Delta Dental. And even now, she's just on my payroll doing nothing.
Was that like a motivator for you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So people ask me like, how to become this version of myself. Like when you are so in need of money that you're getting kicked out of apartments, that your dad has to hide you for $200 a month. And it's not my dad's fault, man. Like,
no, he did what he As a father, we know,
That's it.
we do what we do, what we think is best at that moment.
That's it. And there is no, again, social support like there is today. There's no apps, there's no social media, none of that stuff. In fact, one of the jobs he had was at Arco pumping gas. And in that same Arco gas station was a grocery store called Alpha Beta.
Yeah.
Right? You remember the Alpha Betas. Yeah, they're now they're out of business. But behind Alpha Beta was a giant dumpster where they would throw away food that was old or expired or moldy. All grocery stores have it. So my dad discovered this dumpster. He would pick me up and lift me into it, and I would start fishing for food. Bagged bread that was moldy. My mom would pick off the mold and we'd eat the bread. Lettuce that was completely a mess, but if you peel off enough leaves,
you get the good stuff.
You get the good stuff in the middle. Milk that was expired, but he would open it, smell it. He goes, son, it's good to go. Find more of that, right? And so I share this with you because when you're raised like that, and money is such a missing component in your life and such a pivotal thing that your sister can't quit her job where she's getting sexually harassed, it fucks you with your mind in a way that you realize, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to be so rich, my bloodline will never suffer like this again. And that's what made the 2.0 version of me. It wasn't like I come from a line of entrepreneurs or I had this passion to be an entrepreneur. It was out of sheer desperation and need to never suffer like that again.
So that mindset you had it, that determination internally you had it. What was the first steps that you took in order to start on that journey? It starts with your mindset, right? You got to know what you want. Yeah. But how did you actually start taking that step towards it?
The first steps towards self-employment, entrepreneurship. I say this jokingly, the self-employment part, because it was more of an illegal endeavor. Remember, I said there was gangs all over the Section 8 housing complex. And when you're the foreigner, the Mexican gangs, the black gangs, they all want to beat you up because you got a funny haircut, you've got a bowl haircut, you wear funny clothes, you don't speak the language. And so they stop fighting each other and they start fighting you. And you're just like, what the hell did I do, man? And so as I got older and in my early teens, they befriended me. Mm-hmm. And so as a young boy, you're always looking up to older boys. One, don't beat me up. And two, show me the way, right? That's why knights had squires. And, that's why dads have such a pivotal role with their sons. And so, I looked up to these older boys. I could see they're having a good time. They always had money. And they're like, hey, you want to go on a car ride with us? Wait, instead of beating me up.
How old were you at this time?
13, 14. Yeah, junior high.
That's usually the time right there.
Yeah, junior high. And I remember it was junior high because now at this point we had helped my uncle and his family come from Armenia. And my female cousin, who didn't speak English, was around 13 years old, my age. We were going to the same junior high, Dale High School, or Dale Junior High in Anaheim. And she kept getting picked on. Again, foreigner, didn't speak the language. And so now I would constantly come to her defense and get in fights for her. And so now these boys who saw me growing up and would beat me up now are seeing that I'm getting stronger and tougher. And so they befriend me. And they go, do you want to go on a car ride with us? We're going to go have some fun. Sure. You're not going to beat me up. Instead, you're asking to go on a car.
To be a part of?
Yes. I want to be a part of whatever the fuck you guys got going on. I want to be accepted so bad. So I go with them. They carjack a car, a Honda Civic. And then we take that car, actually not too far from Disneyland, where there was an auto body store, open up the garage, lock the doors, spent the next 4 hours completely taking the car apart, right?
Mounting it.
Mm-hmm. And then what they would do to make money is they would sell those parts to auto body stores, shops, whose customers wanted to pay a discount for those parts instead of getting it through the dealership after getting into a car accident. So it was a kind of a built-in business model. And if you remember in the 90s, carjacking was pretty high, late 80s and 90s here in LA. And
all the Hondas.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. Civics, Accords, all of that. So next thing you know, I'm not just riding in the car. Now I'm actually doing the carjackings. Now that leads to robberies of homes. Now that leads to a police helicopter chase where we get arrested. But I share this with you because I very quickly found that being self-employed, I could set my own times. I could make, if you want to steal 2 cars or 3 cars tonight and spend all night taking cars apart, you're going to make more money the next morning when you resell those parts.
There was no ceiling.
There was no ceiling to my income as a young man. Now I'm 16, 17 years old, right? We're taking VCRs. We're taking jewelry. We're taking fine china, silverware, and taking that stuff to the pawn shop. This is before pawn shops had a database that they would run serial numbers and VIN numbers through. And back then,
Face recognition.
Face recognition. Yeah. I was a robber during the best era of time, man. I'm not proud.
They had the club.
Remember that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember how to break through that?
Wasn't on the back end. There's like a little opening.
I don't know about that.
There was an opening. You'd pop it on the back end, and then inside you can just dismantle the lock, and it just falls apart, and then it.
Okay, that sounds very clever. I wish me and my friends done that. So you take a bottle of CO2 and you just aim right at the center of the lock and freeze it, and then take a mallet and smash it, and it just shatters. Yeah, it shatters. You guys should not try that at home.
Yeah, this is not encouraging. Yeah. This is just a story on how we came to where we're at today, right?
Today they got the flock cameras, which they'll see you doing it. They'll figure you out by the gait, the way you walk, and they will be at your house. And when you show up, and they'll handcuff you. Don't be an asshole. Because I can also tell you that first career of mine as a entrepreneur, being self-employed and kind of being exposed to making my own money versus working for someone else. Because I also, in that time, at 13 years old, I worked for like $4 an hour at this Middle Eastern man's grocery store.
Yeah, I started off at a meat market.
There you go.
$3.50 an hour.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even supposed to be working because I was underage.
Right.
But he's able to do it, in front of a family.
Same thing. And you were grateful for that money.
100%. Yeah.
But then when these guys introduced me to carjacking, and it's like, hey, if
you're comparing check to a wad of cash,
bro,
it's hard to.
You can't turn that down, especially when you realize like you're being accepted by these guys. They're like, man, that was brave of you, man. You're such a stud. They're just hyping you up. Well, why are they doing that? They're making so much money on your back, right? Because of that. But all that aside, I also realized there was a karmic debt that I had accumulated, because in that time, also, each time I would get my hands on money easily and quickly by doing illegal stuff, I would also run into some kind of debt. My truck would break down. The transmission would require like, $300 worth of work, and the engine would require rebuilding. And there was always something happening that I was losing money as I was gaining it. And at some point I realized, I think this might be God doing something to punish me for this ill-gotten money. Years later, I learned the word karma, and I realized I have accumulated karmic debt, and I need to pay back my karmic debt. And that's from the time that we got caught in that police helicopter chase that I was telling you about. I realized that was a fork in the road for me. My 3 friends who robbed the home were able to get identified by the lady who was inside. I was the getaway driver, so she wasn't able to identify me. I got my car repossessed, impounded. I got a fine for exhibition of speed, reckless driving, and whatever the term is called for trying to escape an officer, right? Cops. And then had to pay a massive fine to get my car out. But my friends went to jail. I didn't. And I realized like this might be God giving me like a slap in the face, like, hey, wake up, get your shit right. Otherwise, next time you're going to jail. From that day forward, I said, what else do I love doing? I love being a personal trainer. So I'm going to get certified.
But were you working out, like going to the gym, or just kind of?
Yeah. So by this point now, I'm 19 years old when this carjacking is happening. At 17, or when the home invasion robbery happened. By the way, it was supposed to start off as just a robbery. We thought the house was empty. It was supposed to be empty. My friends had tracked the people who lived there and figured out their pattern of life. It was supposed to be empty. Unbeknownst to them, grandma had come to visit, and grandma was home when no one was supposed to be home. So a robbery becomes a home invasion robbery. And that was not a good thing, because their punishment doubled, right? And so mine was just evading police and all the other things I mentioned. But dude, I share this with you because in that time, I was also working out. Senior year of high school, a good friend of mine introduced me to lifting weights. I was fat. I was overweight.
Did you play any sports in high school?
No, man. No sports. I wish I would have. I asked my parents, hey, can you put me in basketball or wrestling? My dad in his Armenian accent, that costs too much money. That's $26. Not going to do it. Like, all right, fair enough. So in my science class, there was this dude named David. He was the high school football. He was a center for the high school football team. Dude, we were like chums in science class. Outside of science class, he did not even recognize me. And I get it. Like, he's an athlete.
And you're not?
I'm not. The Gothic kids are hanging around together. The math nerds are hanging around together. All these groups are like in their little cliques. I'm the immigrant foreigner just walking around the quad during the high school lunch break. Yep. And I would see Dave and with his, athlete friends, I'd like try and get his attention. He just would ignore me. Good for him. But in science class, we would yuck it up the whole time. So one day I'm like, dude, how do I get in shape like you so that I could go to prom with this hot chick? Her name was Nakaya. And he goes, well, I'll take you to the school gym. I'd never been in a gym, never seen dudes like clanging and banging, squats, deadlifts, bench presses, young kids, thick necks. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I just got a thick waist. These guys got thick necks. They got shoulders. They got traps. I need to look like them. So I spent the whole summer before senior year working out like a machine. And, when you're young, you burn fat, you build muscle a lot faster. And so I come back senior year and I'm jacked. I've lost about 30, 35 pounds. My confidence is through the roof. Self-esteem is through the roof. But I didn't have enough confidence to ask Nakaya to the prom. So I never made it to the prom. But I realized, all right, carjacking, robberies, that's not going to get me anywhere. That's going to get me arrested. The other thing I like that I might be able to do on my own, because I saw, you remember Muscle and Fitness magazine?
Yeah, of course.
Right? These days, Muscle and Fitness, Flex magazine, Muscle Mag 2000, they're all online. There's no more paper magazines.
I used to love going and filling that paper and seeing the oh yeah.
And if you remember at the very back of those magazines, there was these little fractional ads, and it was like, buy legal steroids, and in my case, I saw an ad that said, become a certified personal trainer, make up to $100 an hour. Well, I did the math. I make $100 an hour, train 6 clients a day. That's $600 a day. I'm like rich, right? Being in a gym, $600 a day.
Doing what you love, helping other people.
Bingo.
Still making money.
So I called the number. It was the American Council on Exercise, ACE. And I was like, send me the books. I want to become an ACE certified personal trainer. After failing 3 times, the 4th time I passed the ACE exam and was a certified personal trainer. Now I'm trying to become a legal self-employed entrepreneur. But I figured the best place to do this is to go work at an LA Fitness.
Yeah, I was going to ask you probably did that at a gym, right?
Yeah. Do it at a gym, get paid hourly.
Clients.
Maybe eventually take those clients on my own somewhere.
Yep.
Dude, I was getting paid $12 an hour to work there. Not quite the $100 an hour that I thought. The gym was making all the money. I was getting paid hourly. So once again, I found myself where now I'm a personal trainer in a gym, working as a busboy at Disneyland during that same time. And then on the weekends, I worked as a bouncer at a gay bar in Buena Park, California called Oz. And the only reason I worked there was because Disneyland is known for having a high gay population of employees. And so I made many friends with some amazing people. And one Thanksgiving, I was complaining to them, to my fellow coworkers who happen to be gay. I'm like, man, Christmas is coming up. I work here as a busboy. I got like 3 personal training clients at LA Fitness. I don't have enough money to get gifts for my nieces and nephews. And this guy named Bobby, he was like the most flamey gay guy ever. Awesome human being. He's like, well, you hang out with us fags over here at Disneyland. And that's the words he used. You hang out with us fags here at Disneyland. You should come and work at Oz and you could hang out with more fags there. I'm like, what kind of job are they offering? He goes, they need a bouncer. I go, cool. He goes, they pay well. Dude, and they did pay well because I was applying to be a bouncer at other places and they were paying like $8 an hour. Oz was paying $14 an hour. I took the job. Very first night, skinheads come and they're waiting to get in to Gay Bash. I realized in that moment, the reason the bouncers get paid a lot is because we're going to be fighting a lot. This is not what I want in my life at this point, right? I'm looking for like a career as a personal trainer. And so now I'm a bouncer at a gay bar, busboy at Disneyland, and a personal trainer at LA Fitness. One of my 3 personal training clients, his name is Jim Franco, and I talk about him in my book, Man Up. And Jim would always kind of verbally beat me up a bit. He was very harsh. He was in his 60s. I was in my early 20s. And he would say, why do you show up so tired on Monday mornings? Like, what's the reason that you're so tired? I'm like, dude, I worked as a bouncer till like 3 a.m, fighting people off. Like drunk gay people, drunk lesbians, and skinheads trying to gay bash. Then by the time I come home to my apartment, sleep, wake up, I got to come here and start training my clients. So I'm tired on Monday mornings. He goes, I said, if I just had enough personal training clients, I could make this my full-time thing. but no one wants to buy personal training from me. He goes, that's because you're an order taker and not a closer. That was my first exposure to a real entrepreneur. Unbeknownst to me, when you're a personal trainer and you have one-on-one personal training clients who are paying $600, $800 a month to the gym, dude, these people are affluent. They're rich. They have a lot of money. They're mostly entrepreneurs or the spouses of entrepreneurs. Jim started to guide me and coach me and mentor me. He brought me books and cassette tapes from Zig Ziglar, Tom Hopkins, Brian Tracy, Jay Abraham. And all of a sudden, I'm being exposed to the world of marketing, sales, persuasion, influence. And, you know, people say the most toughest sales job you can have is door-to-door sales. Because you're just like out there knocking on doors. For years. Right?
Yeah.
I found an even tougher sales job, treadmill to treadmill. Because if you want clients and you want to make commission, well, you're going to go on to, 5 o'clock.
They're there.
They're there.
Yeah.
They're all on the treadmill. And the pitch was this. Hey, I see that you're on the treadmill. Have you done your resistance training yet? No, I haven't. Oh, are you going to do any resistance training? No, I'm just here. I'm going to walk on this treadmill on an incline for 30 minutes to burn fat. Oh, did you know that you're not going to burn fat? You're actually going to burn glycogen first, which is stored carbs and sugar in your liver. I still remember the pitch, right? Because they taught it to me. And they go, oh, really? I go, but I'd love to give you a free personal training session on the floor. We can use up those carbs during the resistance training, build your muscles. And then when you get on cardio, you can burn more fat. 1 out of every 10 people would say yes. And then you take them on the floor, you train them for 30 minutes, and then you bring them into the personal training office and you deliver the best pitch you can and you hope you close them. Well, you get rejected by the person on that treadmill. You go right to the person next to them. They just saw you.
Yeah.
They just saw the pitch. They heard the pitch. They saw you get rejected. That guy saw, and then that girl saw, and then that old lady saw. And then you just keep going. It was the most uncomfortable thing, man. Like, it makes your butthole slap shut faster than anything. The rejection that is so repetitive and back to back, because when you're
almost expecting it.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, this is her and get through this real fast because everybody's going
to. To some point, you just start doing like by the time you get to you get to the 4th treadmill, you're like, hi, you probably don't want personal training, right? And they're like, no. I'm like, all right, on to the next one.
Right? No, okay, yeah.
Because when you're going
sabotaging yourself.
That's it. Because when you're going door to door, what ends up happening is, whether you close this deal or not, this next neighbor doesn't know. Exactly. So you can go there and like, hey, your neighbor just bought whatever, plumbing from me, or
they don't know.
HVAC, or you can walk in there like you just own the place. These people on treadmills did. So anyway, I was exposed to entrepreneurship through Jim Franco, and he taught me how to sell. Before I know it, I'm closing deals left and right, man. Next thing you know, I'm the personal training manager for the La Habra LA Fitness, right? That means I'm closing the deals, making commissions, and then all the personal trainers are getting the clients. And so they're getting paid $12 an hour. I'm now making about 80, 90,000 a year. I'm rich, right? And then Jim Franco goes, hey, why don't you open up your own personal training studio? Oh, I don't know, man. I don't know. That's like some serious business. He goes, I think you can do it. And I'd love to be your business partner. I'll loan you the money. And so I got exposed to an investor, a mentor, taking risks, being delusionally optimistic when you open up your gym and no one walks in and you're like, oh shit.
How were you with your money, with your finances during that time? Maybe not knowing a whole lot. You came from not having a lot, and then all of a sudden you have a lot.
Yeah.
At that point, how did you handle that mentally?
Well,
and
let's just say the first time, which was about 3 months in to having my first personal training gym, Premier Results. And by the way, these are like 2,500 square foot gyms. They weren't like big box gyms. And it's just all one-on-one personal training. You can't buy a membership and train there. Just me and a handful of personal trainers training our clients, right? Very boutique. And so like the first time where I had made, I think I'd made $41,000 in a month. It was like the 3rd or 4th month in. Because not only was I selling for myself and training clients, so I would train clients in the morning, and the rest of the afternoon I would sell and I'd keep commission and I'd give those clients to my personal trainers. So I had a really great month, made like $41,000. All the other months were like 15, 16, maybe 20,000. I went and I bought a Chevy Tahoe, fully paid. And this was during a time where interest rates were like 2%. Of course, who am I going to brag to? My business partner, Jim Franco. Jim Franco, you're not going to believe this. I got a brand new Chevy Tahoe. I'm no longer driving that 79 Toyota pickup. Like, aren't you proud of me? The reason I bought a Chevy Tahoe is because it was the poor man's version of the Cadillac Escalade, which is what Jim...
Back in the day, that was a car.
That was the car, bro. And Jim Franco would drive this champagne-colored Cadillac Escalade, and I would see it. And I'm like, one day I'm going to have one of those. Well, the poor man version is a new Tahoe. So I got this Tahoe. He goes, oh, what are your payments on it? I go, this is the best part, Jim. No payments. He goes, you're an idiot.
Mm-hmm.
I was dumbfounded. Like, why am I an idiot?
You have no car payments. You just pay off cash.
That's it. That was my mindset. He goes, you know, interest is 2%, right? I go, yeah, they tried to offer it to me. And I was like, no, dude, I got cash and I bought it. He goes, you could have used that cash to open up a second location, because when money is that cheap, I never understood the idea of like, if I'm paying 2% interest, I can take the rest of this money. Like I could have put $5,000 down and pay 2% interest on my payments, taking the rest of this $41,000 and open up another gym and made 15, 20% margins on it, right? For the 2% that I'm paying there. So if you're asking me, how was I with my money? I was horrible. I was horrible because I never had any money intelligence, financial intelligence. It's not taught in school. My broke Armenian parents certainly didn't teach me. And now Jim Franco realized I've got new lessons to teach this young man, because otherwise he's going to squander his money. Because I'd give 50% to him. And then my 50%, I would just like, nice apartment complex, new Tahoe, new clothes. And then he goes, you realize we have a third business partner? I'm like, we do? Who? He goes, the government.
That's right.
Shit.
The IRS.
The IRS.
TB.
Yeah. And he's like, you know, you're going to pay quarterly taxes. Ah, shit.
Yep.
What is that? So now I'm learning all about how business works. So there's like the whole marketing, sales, entrepreneurship side. And then there's the back end side, which is like, who's doing your P&L? Who's doing your books? How much are you putting aside? How are you legally, ethically, you know, saving your money away from the government? So it was a harsh upbringing, but thank God I had a mentor like Jim Franco who believed in me and invested in me.
Yeah, that's kind of like my story as well. You know, I worked at the meat market, worked at McDonald's, and it was right next to the high school. So all the friends from high school would come over there.
Of course.
Hook me up with some fries and some apple pies and, you know, throw an extra patty and all that. And then from there, I used to play football for my freshman year.
Yeah.
And I would go to house parties back in the days in the 90s. The backyard parties that was it.
Yeah.
So I went to one and they were charging $3 to get in. And me, I'm in the backyard. There's about 250 people there. So I'm thinking 250 times 3, I can make some money here.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, do I either be the football player who pays the $3 to get into a backyard, or do I be the person who actually charges the people to come in? And I already have all the friends from the football players. So I actually left football and I started doing house parties in the early 90s.
Brilliant. Good for you.
Started charging, okay, they're charging 3. Why? I can charge 5 if I add this. And I can go from 5 to 7 and from 7 to 10. So from the early 90s, I was doing house parties and going from like $4 an hour to making $2,000 on a Friday night and then going to school with all these 1s and 5s and 10s and 20s. I was like, man, I was like, wow, how do I do 2 of these a week? You know, how do I do 4 of these in a month? Yeah. And that was like my journey to entrepreneurship. But like you, I didn't have anybody to mentor me coming from food stamps. And, you know, I'm like, this is a lot of money. Let me go and buy a car. Yeah. I bought a car cash, you know, that was
because it seems like the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Right. It seems like the right thing to do until you realize I can leverage this cash towards something else.
I never heard about leveraging cash. To me, I was like, well, you have a car payment. I don't. So I'm doing better.
Yeah.
Right. But
and this is my issue with the entire system that we live under, which is the education system, the government system, the religious system, the medical system, pharmaceutical system, food system, is it's designed to keep you fat, ignorant, and broke.
Nobody taught us that in school. No one.
And it's by design.
Yeah.
I'm convinced it's by design. And if they wanted to teach us that, they could. Like I taught my son and daughter like this when they were 7 years old, how to read a nutrition label and how to tell if something is good to eat or not, simply by reading the calories, the macros, proteins, fats, and carbs, and then the ingredients. Could grandma understand these ingredients, right? If grandma can't understand these ingredients, it's probably chemically derived. And if the fat is higher than the protein, it's not the best thing for us. We want fat to be at least half of protein and carbs to be at least, whatever, the rules that I taught them, a third of the fat. And so they knew that. And today they're both like lean and jacked. They didn't have to be fat in high school and elementary school like I was, because they would just go into the pantry and look at a food label and know whether it's worth eating or not. They'd be at a party with a friend and know whether they should eat that or not. And I, taught them the habits of exercise. But I share this with you because the system is designed to keep us broke, keep us poor, keep us dependent on it. And if it's not for the parents And if it's not for a mentor like I had, Jim Franco, like who else would have taught us? Like today we have YouTube, we have social media, so you could follow people who can educate you on via social media.
At least make you aware of it.
Make you aware of it.
Yeah, you don't know what you don't know.
Right. Our generation didn't have that. You're lucky if you got a cassette tape or a book, and now you could at least delve something from that.
So how did you get into jiu-jitsu and martial arts?
That's a good question.
And what have you learned?
Yeah.
You know?
So I started Kempo karate probably at 15, 16 years old. Again, I asked my dad, like, hey, you got to put me into any sports in high school? No. And since I was working since the age of 13, and then when I started getting cash on hand because of the carjackings, I was like, you know what? I can pay for my own activities. And so I wanted to learn how to fight. Back in the 90s, I didn't know anything about jiu-jitsu. And I was like, you know what? Karate's the way. So there was this guy named Steve Spry in Garden Grove, California. He was taught by Ed Parker. Ed Parker brought Kempo from Japan. And Steve Spry was like, I don't know if this is true or not. It's Mr. Spry, if you're alive, you can confirm this in the comments. But I thought that all karate students were supposed to wear a white gi. I show up to do a trial class, and you pay your $99 and you do get a white gi with it. But he had a black gi on, and a lot of his students had a black gi on. And I was like, man, all right, whatever. And then so I did the trial class. I decided to join, and I was like, hey, this is a shitty little gi you guys gave me, right? They give you like a low quality gi. Where can I go to get a good one? They go, oh, you can go to this place that sells it down the street and in Stanton. And oh, by the way, you can get a black gi. I'm like, wow. And then Steve Spry jumps in. He goes, yeah. Ed Parker said that I'm the only one that could wear a black gi, and me and my students, because I've won so many competitions. And then he points to the wall, and sure enough, trophies everywhere, right? Like he was a stocky dude, bit of a mullet. You can tell he had a chip on his shoulder. He goes, you know what I do? Whenever I get a surfboard, because he loves to surf, he goes, whenever I get a surfboard, the first thing I do, I punch it. And he just angry, like I punch it, and I put a big dent in it. That way, when it gets dented from surfing, I've already put the first dent in it. I can just enjoy surfing and not worry. And I thought that was a pretty good lesson. In other words, enjoy what you have. Because also coming from a foreign family, like I look around here, you have a beautiful home, you've got beautiful furniture. All this shit right here, if it was in the Armenian house, would be covered with plastic. Because
we used to have that back in the day.
Right?
Plastic.
Yeah. And I remember thinking like, I've been conditioned like, don't mar anything, don't scratch anything, preserve it as long as you can, even if that means you enjoy it less.
Yeah.
And Steve Spry's like, I'm going to punch this shit and I'm going to surf it until it breaks down. And then he just got the most out of life.
We used to have a room that it was more for looks.
There you go.
Don't even go in there, sit in there. What are you doing in there? I thought I played on. Come over here. That's just
probably only for guests and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I did Kempo, and I got all the way up to, I think it was green belt in Kempo, which so like white, yellow, blue, and green, if I remember correctly. There were no stripes like jiu-jitsu. And then that was that. I quit because then I got arrested, and, the rest was history. But I always liked combatives. My dad was into boxing. Mm-hmm. And so we'd always watch boxing together. I was like, man, I like that. So as I grew up older, I started doing these 6-week challenges to just challenge myself early in my 30s, like probably 31, 32 years old. My first one was to train for 6 weeks and run a marathon. I was like, all right, I'm going to do, because then by this point, I'm heavily into self-development at this point. Like Jim Franco, that's a cool thing about when you are exposed to sales and marketing. I think the reason many entrepreneurs are also into self-development is they realize, okay, I need to learn marketing, sales, leadership, systems, operations, but then also I need to have emotional discipline, mental toughness, and all these things that make me a better operator.
Correct.
Right? And so that's all self-development. So naturally I started kind of find Tony Robbins and all the self-help stuff. And Tony Robbins like, lean into the sides of your comfort zone, do something strange, do something different, do something that's out of your norm. All right, cool. Well, I've always said, I'm big, I'm strong. I'm not designed to run. And I've started to believe my own hype about that. It's like, all right, I'm going to train for 6 weeks, hire a running coach, train for 6 weeks and run the San Diego Marathon. And I did. Painful, horrible. But bro, in 6 weeks, I went from never having run to By week number 5, I ran 14 miles. By week number 5.5, I did 16 miles. And then I took the last 3 days off before the San Diego Marathon. And I was like telling the coach, are you sure you want me to take 3 days off? Shouldn't I be running more? Like, her name was Jill Spiegel, Brewer. And Jill goes, no, you need to recover for 3 days. Yeah. Like, I didn't know anything about recovery, right? Like, I knew about weightlifting recovery. Like, we just need 24 hours and you're back at the gym. Like, no, you got to recover, and then you're going to deplete this way, and then you're going to eat a lot of pasta. And I'm like, shit, you're speaking my language, sister. I could eat all the pasta the night before, you know? And then I run the San Diego Marathon, man. And I ran it. And I was like, holy shit, my legs took me 26.2 miles. Well, what else can I do? So I started picking all these different 6-week challenges. Surfing, I was always afraid of the ocean, right? Like, I'll go to the beach, but I'm not going in the water. So I hired a surf coach, trained for 6 weeks. And so running didn't stick. I did it once, marathon, checked it off. I'll never run again unless, like, you're chasing me, right? Surfing, stuck. I've been surfing for the last 13 years. Salsa dancing, did it out of my comfort zone. Improv, chess, sign language, you name it, I've done it. One of those challenges was MMA. And I hired Aaron Weatherspoon. He was at the time, so this was now probably pushing late 30s. And Aaron was the king of the cage welterweight champion. Black dude, very calm, very peaceful, tatted up everywhere. And I knew him through a friend of a friend. And so we meet up in the parking lot of this gym in Chino Hills called Millennia. And he goes, hey, I trained there. Let's meet in the parking lot. The owner gave me the key. For the next 6 weeks, I'll train you twice a week. I'm like, cool. Gave him the money. And dude, when I met him through this friend of a friend, very calm, very peaceful, but I knew that who he was and he was, we meet in the parking lot, very calm, very peaceful. We spent 15 minutes in the parking lot and we were just talking about it. Man, we get on the mats and he hands my ass over to me, right? He showed me what I'm incapable of. To give you an idea of who Aaron is, and Aaron, I love you to pieces and we're still homies and friends, but he's the size of your leg. He's a short, tiny black man. I guess the most recent version, if you just imagine Mighty Mouse today, right? The MMA fighter, slightly taller than Mighty Mouse and equally as dangerous. And he hands my ass over to me. And I realized in that moment, like, he is proving to me here that as a dude who's 6 foot, over 200 pounds, size don't matter. And I obviously knew that, otherwise I would not have hired him. But now I realize what the pecking order was on the mats. Off the mats, like, he'll ask me business questions, right? Because he wanted to be a personal trainer.
That's your,
that's my zone of genius. Yeah. On the mats, I'm a white belt, bro.
Respect the belt.
And so now I'm doing Muay Thai clinches. I'm dropping multiple combinations. And all of a sudden, when we get to the ground, he's teaching me arm bars and he's teaching me back takes. I'm like, this MMA thing is amazing. So train for 6 weeks. And then he brings in a guy my size. And then we do a little MMA match at the end of 6. So everything was like, do it for 6 weeks. Like, the improv was do 6 weeks and then do a little stand-up comedy open mic night, right? And so I was like, I think I like this. But I really like the jiu-jitsu version of it. And so now you fast forward. I'm doing all these different challenges. But you fast forward to 2019, I do a jiu-jitsu challenge. Just jiu-jitsu, gi. I've never even heard of no gi at this point. Just gi. I like it. I don't love it. After the 6 weeks, Coach Pete Sutton, awesome black belt, great fighter from Temecula, brought in this big giant dude, my size, slightly bigger. I'm like, Coach Pete, this guy's bigger than me. He's like, oh, in life, sometimes you run into people bigger than you. And he was right, by the way. And I should say, when I was doing that 6-week MMA challenge with Aaron Weatherspoon, at the end of that 6 weeks, my family and I just happened to have a trip to Maui. We went to Maui for vacation. After a week and a half in Maui, we're flying back. We took
beautiful over there.
Beautiful.
We just came back from over there.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
where do you guys stay?
At the Kanapali Alahi.
Okay.
Yeah, right across from the golf course.
Yes. I know exactly where you are.
That little shop mall that was outdoors.
And so we took the red-eye flight home. So think about 11 p.m. We're leaving Maui to come to LAX. This is now 13 years ago, 14 years ago. Bro, we're sitting in the back, my family and I, in the back of first class. And in the very front of first class, almost in the front, like second row, first class, this dude, about 40 minutes into the flight, now we're over the Pacific, He's like hitting the seat in front of him, yelling at the guy. The people on either or on, because he was window, the guy in the aisle, he got up. The people in front of him got up. The people behind him got up. Everyone's like, he's making gun gestures. He's talking about, I'm going to blow this thing up. I'm going to kill you with it. I'm thinking this is post 9/11. Like, no one would be this stupid on a flight to go insane. Plus, we're coming from Maui. Like,
be chill. Relax.
Be chill, bro. Yeah. Right?
Relax.
Like, I literally have flip-flops on, a Hilo Hattie shirt.
Yeah.
Like, I'm as chill as can be.
Yeah.
And I had always remembered, do you know what Tony Blauer is?
No.
He's a combative expert. He taught the SPEAR system to Navy SEALs back in the day. I forget what SPEAR stands for, but he's one of the most badass. Like, he's been on the cover of Black Belt magazine back in the day, many a times. Anyway, so Tony Blauer, I got some training with him back in the day, and we made friends. He goes, hey, just on a plane, a big guy like you, whether you know how to fight or not, just sit on the aisle. Always sit on the aisle in case you're needed. You don't have to like step over someone, right? Fair enough. So since then, I'd always sat on the aisle. So there I was sitting on the aisle. My son Andrew was next to me. Across the aisle is my wife and my daughter Chloe. 11 o'clock at night, I'm reading a book to Andrew. Chloe's asleep, and the wife's doing something. This guy's going batshit crazy. I'm looking at the flight attendants. They're trying to calm him down. They can't. Now they come down the alley. They go to the back, and now the flight attendants are coming back together, and I could see they're holding something, zip cuffs, right? I stop him, I'm like, ma'am, is there anything I could do? Can I help? Da-da-da. She goes, not yet. By law, we have to ask him to put these on. I look at him. Now he's standing up, yelling, foaming at the mouth. Bro, I don't think this guy's going to put those things on. Yeah. So I just have a glance with the guy sitting behind my wife. Like, we just made eye contact. No words were spoken. And I knew the mission. Like, if I get up, he's getting up. And he knew the mission that if he gets up, I'm getting up. And then I assumed that this is post 9/11. The worst thing that's going to happen is he and I are going to get to this guy first. Correct. Everyone else is going to dogpile on us. I need to figure out how not to suffocate under there. Because you remember we'd hear about people dogpiling on a flight.
In football, oh man, that would suck to be on the bottom.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, all of a sudden my claustrophobia sets in this moment, right? I look at this guy, I'm like, fuck. By the time everyone else dogpiles on us, like, I need to figure out how to breathe under there. But okay, whatever. So the flight attendants go and cut in front of him, obviously creating a human wall between the guy who's going batshit crazy and the pilots. You can see the head flight attendant, this older lady, like telling him, like, sir, put these on, right? And he's like, no way, I'm not going to put those on, da-da-da. She looks up towards me and starts yelling, help.
Was he like under the influence, or was it just a bad day? Or
I don't think he was a terrorist. I think he was drugged up. I did not smell alcohol on him. And I was very intimately close to him, because now I pop up, I go running. I see out of the corner of my eye that guy stood up and that he's behind me. So I'm like, all right, 2-on-1, we're good. Any minute now, you're going to be under the pile. Oh, well. I get in front of him and I'm like, put my hands up to go, bro, relax. He shoves me. I do exactly what Aaron Weatherspoon taught. And I parry his hands, get behind him, and do a standing rear naked choke. But he's taller than me. Going back to what Coach Pete said, sometimes people are bigger than you. He's taller than me, not as jacked, taller than me. So I buckle his knees, brought him down, and now I'm on his back. I later learned he's in turtle position. I'm on his back. I did not have my hooks in. I should have. I didn't know about hooks back then, right? When Aaron was teaching me. So come on, Aaron, taught me better. Should have taught me better. But bro, this guy's like, I'm whispering in his ears. I'm choking him out the best I could. I'm like, bro, relax, calm the fuck down. No one's going to die. Like, chill out. And he starts going limp. The homie who stood up, now he's got the zip cuffs. He's trying to wedge the zip cuffs between my gut and the guy's back while trying to bring the guy's arms behind him. And I realized, unless I get off this guy's back, that's not going to happen. So I go, what would Aaron do? Okay, go from rear naked choke to guillotine. So I quickly switch over to guillotine. I got this motherfucker in guillotine, and he's in turtle position still. Now homie zip cuffs him, and I'm watching him zip cuff as this guy's like fighting, and I just keep squeezing, and he goes limp again. But I'm watching the guy zip cuff, and he's zipped so tight, he cuts right into the guy's skin. Now he's bleeding, right? And the guy's like, this hurts, this hurts, this hurts. We're looking at the flight attendants like, what the fuck do we do now? She's like, well, you guys need to sit with him in the back. Security, he needs to sit by the window in the back seat until we get to LAX, and the cops will be there waiting. Roger that. And so now we have to use these like shitty airplane scissors
Try to cut it off.
Do you remember the ones when we were in like
cheapy ones that turn?
Yes,
buckle?
yes, the buckle and they have the round edge.
Yeah.
So they give you that because God forbid they give you anything sharp on an airplane. I'm like, ma'am, I can't. So now I'm cutting the guy more with these shitty little scissors trying to get the zip cuffs off. Finally, we put the zip cuffs on, and every hour, me and the guy rotate shifts.
Keep an eye on him.
Yeah. And he would come to, and I'd talk to him like, hey, man, you okay? Yeah, man, I'm fine. He was just like fucked up, and he probably had a bad thing happen during the last day. He wasn't drunk, I can tell you that. He was definitely on something because he was in and out of anger, sadness, and then would fall asleep, and then wake up angry, sad, and then would fall asleep again. I was like, well, that's quite the emotional roller coaster.
We never know what somebody's going through that's sitting right next to you.
Right. Bro, and I realized, had Aaron not taught me, had that not been my 6-week challenge, I would have been one of those guys thinking like, oh yeah, I'm a big guy.
I'm going to knock him out.
I'm going to knock him out.
Yeah.
How?
Yeah.
How? If anyone's ever been face-to-face with someone in an MMA, like Muay Thai, boxing, on the mats, your mind goes blank unless you've repeated that scenario a million times. And so anyways.
It sounds good in your head until you actually have to do it.
Yeah. The whole like, I see red and it's over.
Yeah.
No. In the gym, maybe when I'm squatting, I can get to a dark place in my head under a controlled environment when I'm not having an adrenaline dump.
Yeah.
Bro, when you and I are scrapping and you take my back and I don't know you that well, how do I know you're going to let go if I tap?
Exactly.
I still wonder that during open mats. I'm like, how do I know this guy's not having a bad day?
You really don't, you know?
You don't.
Yeah.
Right. And so anyway, so I do this, the GI 6-week challenge with Coach Pete Sutton. Like it, don't love it. Then the pandemic happens. Try and save my business. We lost 218 Fit Body Bootcamp franchise locations during the 10 months of the pandemic. That was a whole different story. But to fast forward, a few years after that, I'm like, I think I want to try jujitsu again. And this time I'm hearing about no gi.
Mm.
And so now so this was 3 years ago. And as you get older, you try and get more efficient in life. I'm like, all right, I need to do cardio for my heart. When you're doing gi, you're constantly being held, so you're not sweating as much. I think no gi, I'm going to be moving around a lot more. And I was right. So I hired Coach Mike Velez, actually Ed over here, my videographer and good friend. He's a brown belt. He introduced me to the black belt that I train under, Mike Velez, out of Sector. And so we do private sessions 3 times a week for 6 weeks, right? And man, I'm loving no gi. You're moving fast. You're using your grips and your hooks. There's no like pant legs and sleeves and collars to hold on to. And so I'm sweating and learning combatives at the same time. I'm like, I found my happy place. And then as we keep doing this, you know, the first 6 months, every time I'm in fight or flight, every time. Even when we're drilling, I'm like, Coach will teach me something. And he goes, okay, and I'm talking a private lesson. He goes, all right, you ready to drill it a little slower? I'm like, shit, I forgot what the first thing was. He goes, put me in your guard. Oh, got it, right? After about 6-7 months, I started realizing, I think I could think about other stuff while doing jujitsu. And in my gym, BK Strength, so I started getting a list of like, so Coach Mike goes, hey, can this guy come? He's a good dude and roll with us at your gym, Bedros. I'm like, yeah, sure. Before you know it, now there's like 26 guys on our text group. Ed's one of them. And so I'm injured right now. I got a tricep tear that I'm healing, but I would put out a text, hey guys, you know, Friday night, BK Strength, my gym, 7 p.m. And out of the 26, maybe 15 dudes show up and somebody will bring another friend. So whatever, we're all rolling. But on the wall in my gym, there's the motivational quotes and signatures of everyone that I've worked out with.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Like whatever, Phil Heath and fucking Randy Garn and all these people, famous and not famous people. Like we worked out together, signed the wall, put something motivational. Dude, I find myself now, I'm rolling and I'm reading motivational quotes. I have that much control over my nervous system. Mm-hmm. And I realize jujitsu is the same thing as entrepreneurship. The only difference is the timeline is shorter. Like soon as we slap and bump and the timer goes, the 6 minutes, that's like a 10-minute or a 10-year business career.
Like, so let's say like, what's 1 or 2 things that you learned in jiu-jitsu combat sports that you didn't learn in business?
Okay. The first thing that comes to mind is that it's not final unless it's fatal, right? Like in business, unless you're completely out of money, it's not final. In jiu-jitsu, you could be getting choked. You could get a finger or 2 in there, or, you know, rear naked choke, you turn towards the guy's bicep. You might have a moment or 2 of breathing. In my case, I'm heavy, so I'll also go high up on them and kind of put pressure on them while I turn towards their bicep. It might be final, but it's not fatal yet. Now, if they got it cinched up, also, there's this guy named James who works with me at HQ, works for me at HQ. They'll just do a rear naked chokehold right across their teeth, bro, and it'll just like want to crack your jaw. He's a savage. So short of someone like him, I'll just tap because I don't want my teeth busted up. But my point is, in business, there's always another move you can make. In jiu-jitsu, I learned that very quickly because the consequences are dire, right? Someone's trying to do a head and arm choke and they're crawling your arm over your head. Well, okay, I only have seconds to answer the phone. Once it comes across my neck, well, okay, the chances are I'm pretty screwed, but there's still something I can do, right? And so you realize jiu-jitsu is very much keep your cool, look for your options. Can I have another 2 or 3 seconds of breathing to weigh out what options I have? If not, then I can tap. Same thing applies in business. If there's something panicky happening, if I'm freaking out, my whole team's going to freak out. First thing Coach Mike Velez and Pete Sutton told me, like, Bedros, relax. You're wasting so much energy trying to muscle your way through us. Relax. And I'd be like, I am relaxed, but I wasn't. I was tense and I was trying to muscle my way through. 2 minutes in, I'm gassed and I'm tapping because I'm gassed. Now we can just do quick rounds one after another because I've learned to relax in this scenario. Thank God, jiu-jitsu the year before with Coach Sutton, before the pandemic in 2019, because during the pandemic, I'm like, all right, guys, we need to relax. What are our options? Yes, we're losing franchise locations, not gaining them. What are our options? Okay, PPP loans, got it. SBA loan, got it. Can we sell 2 of our rental properties? Yes. Okay, let's sell those. Got it. All right, let's move the clients into private Facebook groups in every location, move it to private Facebook groups, and we're gonna do live workouts every day on Facebook so we can keep the revenue coming. Like, and then each time they would say the pandemic's gonna go longer, or new rules, or new, in Southern California especially, you open up your gym for any reason, you get a $5,000 fine. We're always finding solutions to go around it. If it's not fatal, it's not final. And so people always think like, just because you're starting to get choked out in business or in life or on the mats, that I should tap. No, there might be a way to buy yourself a few more seconds of air,
try to figure out
or time to try and figure out another solution. That's the biggest takeaway from jiu-jitsu that I can directly go adjacent to business.
Yeah, you mentioned about you had Franco, that was your mentor there.
Yeah.
You talked about your trainers who taught you certain things, right?
Yeah.
How important is it to have a mentor in any parts of life?
I'm 52 and I still have a mentor. I have a speaking coach, Joel Weldon, and I have a therapist, Kevin Downing. I want to be an even better speaker. I want to be able to command stages like my friend Ed Milet does. And I realize, all right, improv helped. Good storytelling skills. But how do I work a PowerPoint? If you ever watch Joel Weldon, he's in the Speaker Hall of Fame. He's such a badass. If you ever watch him go, like old dude, go through the power, you don't even realize he's holding a clicker. And the way he's talking and the slides are moving and the way he's anchoring the stage, the left side is negative, the right side is positive. He anchors the stage with emotions. When he's talking things that are going to scare you, he's on the left side. All negative emotions are tied to the left side. All positive emotions are tied to the right side. And then when he's ready to pitch, whatever his thing is that he's going to pitch, he's on the right side of the stage pitching. Like, the guy's got mastery. Like, the rest of us are good. Joel Weldon has mastery. Tony Robbins has mastery. Ed Milet has mastery. Mm-hmm. And so I realized I want that level of mastery as a speaker. The only way that's going to happen is if I hire a coach, because they're going to teach me the things I don't even know to look out for. They're going to teach me, watch out for that pothole, watch out for that detour. Don't ask a stupid question that you don't have an answer to. That's the first thing I learned. I was always the guy who's like, has anyone in the audience seen Pulp Fiction? Just because it's my favorite movie, you ask that dumb question, one hand goes up out of 1,000 hands, and now you look like a dumbass. Don't ask a question unless you know that they know the answer, right? And so it's like, dude, I went from charging $5,000 to $50,000 speaking fee in 3 years, simply because I got exponentially better through the coaches I had. In terms of therapy, I'm a better human. I'm a better friend. I'm a better entrepreneur, better everything, because I dealt with my childhood trauma through my therapist, Kevin Downing. I still see him. And it's been 14 years now since I've been working with him. So people that think that I'll figure it out on my own, sure, maybe by the time you're dead. Or if you want a time collapse, you pay for speed by hiring someone that's been in the trenches, done what you want to do, has the battle scars to show it, and they'll show you the path.
Yeah, I've always learned and been taught, you always have somebody that's above you, your leader. You have somebody on the side of you, friend that iron sharpens iron, that you can keep each other accountable, and somebody below you that you're teaching,
Yes.
that you're bringing with you as the other person above you is bringing you. And then both of you on the side are helping each other to get there.
Bro, I love that word picture you just drew, because I believe learning without paying it forward, like you learn more when you teach,
100%.
right? Now that I'm 3 years into jujitsu,
You get to learn twice when you speak, right? They say.
yes, exactly. You know, my nephews will come to the gym with me and my son. My son's like 4 or 5 years in jujitsu, but I'll see like him teaching my nephews, and I'll be watching like, oh shit, that's right. I don't do that one thing before I, cinch up a gift wrap. And so sometimes in the teaching process, you learn more. And so why not like learn, teach, and then have someone next to you for accountability? I love that.
So everybody knows the Bedros in front of the camera. Who's the Bedros when nobody's watching?
Introvert, hermit, who doesn't want to travel, be on stages, build companies. The only reason I build companies is I love the financial freedom, and I love giving back to the charities that make me feel whole. Shrine of Children's Hospital, Toys for Tots, and Compassion International. We've donated over $7 million over the last 13 years to those charities and causes, and we continue to. We've got 97 kids adopted through Shriners. And so to me, money is a vehicle to freedom. You'll always see me in Chucks, jeans, and a t-shirt and a hat. Ironically, when I was broke or still coming up is when I had the most custom suits and expensive watches, like Cartier watches and Rolex watches. And I realized I don't even like I don't like it. I think I probably have some kind of autism or some shit, because you put a watch on me and I could feel the weight of it as though it's like a fucking Honda Civic hanging off my arm. So, hey son, hey daughter, there are my watches. When I die, you can have them, right? If you want to have them now, you can. But to me, money is a vehicle to freedom. So who I am is someone, I enjoy music. I play music by ear. I told you, I'd rather spend one-on-one time with people than be in big groups.
Me too.
I'm an introvert by personality. I'm an INTJ, introverted thinker. INT, introverted, intuitive, thinker, judicial. And as my therapist says, I know how to turn it on when I'm on stage or in front of a podcast. But earlier you asked me, hey, how was your day? Worked out in the morning, had a couple of meetings with the team. Here I am. And guess what I'm doing after this? Me and my son are changing the transmission fluid, differential fluid in his car in the garage. Now, I've got several cars. I've got friends who are mechanics. I can't wait to spend 3 hours with my son under the car connecting with my 20-year-old stud of a son, right? I get so much value out of that instead of like, and look, make no mistake about it. Sometimes either Ed or Joan will take my cars to get fixed or whatever if I'm in a rush.
But something you get to do with your son.
I get to do this with my son, right? Like these are the things I get so much value from. And I'm also a deep thinker. I think about creation. I think about, is there a God? I think about the universe. I wonder what our connection to one another is. And so these are the things that I ponder. And the older I get, I wonder about that. Like, yes, I believe there is a God. Yeah. And if so many religions have different gods, can it be indeed one God? Yet we're having all these religious wars over what? How ignorant are we? And so these are the things that I think about while I'm playing music, while I'm surfing, mostly my alone times. I value my alone time because I'm so public when I'm speaking on stage and running masterminds and workshops and podcasts and all that stuff. But I value my private time a lot, and therefore I prioritize it.
Would the 10-year-old Bedros recognize the man you are today?
No, that little boy was scared. He had been molested a few years earlier. 10-year-old Bedros would not recognize us. And he was molested in Armenia over and over again by 2 older boys. He came here and was beat up and picked on and laughed at by gangbangers. And he was scared. He was anxious. He was uncertain. And I realized, looking back, that 10-year-old was depressed. So I just didn't know what depression was. I was depressed all throughout my, school career, maybe towards the latter year of high school. And that was whatever. That was my burden in life, and that's fine. But that little boy, 10-year-old, would not recognize this guy. It's almost like I have had two different lives, and I can look at it with outside eyes and now say, I had to write a letter to that little boy. Kevin, my therapist.
I've done that before.
Did you? Okay. How was it for you?
That was a very emotional state. There's things that you either forget or try to forget.
Yes.
That during that conversation that you're having with your younger self start to come up. Things that you haven't thought about in years, good, bad, ugly, all of that, all these emotions that you maybe dealt with, haven't dealt with.
Yeah.
I had to pause and really think about, man, you went through some stuff.
Yeah.
And things that maybe nobody would ever know. Only you know. So because you're relating with your younger self, there's that connection there that you almost want to say, man, I'm kind of sorry for you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But then whatever happened, made you who you are today. So do I wish that didn't happen to me? Of course. But did I utilize it in a positive way? Maybe later on in life, but there was a time where that actually took me down a dark hole.
Yeah.
It's very therapeutic.
Yeah. And that's exactly it. And it's funny, right? Be the best version of me. That's exactly what both you and I have done, and many like us who have taken whatever mess life has given them and turned it into their message. And when I had to write that, I say had to because my therapist, Kevin, was like, hey, have you thought about writing a letter to your younger self? I was like, oh, Kevin, like, that's so lame. He's like, no, like truly have a conversation with your younger self, your inner child. You carry that little boy with you. And I do realize that. Like my dad is 92 years old. I'll walk into his house. In fact, I'll be going there tomorrow. I'll walk into his house and he lights up and he has this smile like a little boy.
Yeah.
Like my son Andrew would have on his face if I showed up with like a lollipop for him, right?
Did you still see him that way?
A 92-year-old man.
See your son, no matter how old he gets. I have my son here.
Yeah.
I still see him as that young. Sometimes I even forget, even my daughters.
Right.
15 years old, my oldest, and sometimes I forget she's a young lady.
Right.
I still see her as this little girl.
Yeah. Yeah. And that doesn't change when they get older.
It doesn't change.
And I'm telling you, like my son sees the little boy in me. I'm sure your son will see the little boy in you, because when you're around the people that you feel the most comfortable with and most vulnerable with, you will let down your armor.
100%.
Is what Kevin, my therapist, told me. So he goes, if you just write to that little boy, I go, I don't know what to write. How do you even start that letter? Like I've always done with all my mentors, I'm always a little combative. Like, oh, that's stupid. Like I told Jim Franco, like, I don't have a problem selling. He goes, no, you're an order taker, not a salesperson. You're losing all these sales. That's why you have these 3 jobs. Oh shit, you're right. But so I guess I always come off as a little, like, Kevin, like writing a letter to my younger self, my inner child, isn't going to help. He's like, well, you'd be surprised. Like, you're paying me. Like, do you want this money? I go, waste it. I go, no. And so I was like, well, I don't even know what the first sentence would be, Kevin. How long is the letter supposed to be? He goes, as long as it's supposed to be, just write.
Yeah.
He goes, would it help if I give you the first sentence? I go, sure. He goes, Bedros, between the ages of 4 and 6, you were molested by 2 older boys. But today you are ... He just gave me that one sentence. Took me 2.5 months, but 11 pages later, I wrote to that little boy and I told him how scared he was, how uncertain he was, how much doubt he had, and how proud he should be of himself, because he's got absolute control of what happens in his book of life. I really believe, like, when we're born, and like God gives us this book of life, and in the beginning, other people write in your book of life. And it's supposed to be that way. Like, your son, my kids, your daughters, they don't know how to change their own diapers. They don't know how to feed themselves. And so as parents, what do? We change their diapers. We feed them. We decide, oh, this must be their favorite food. We decide what their little onesie is going to look like and what characters are going to be. We decide a lot of things. We end up maybe even, oh, look, little Bobby's clumsy. Little Bobby's like very smart. Oh, he's very curious. Oh, he's fast. Oh, he's doesn't remember names. And then when they get older,
yeah, we put these on them.
We put that, and the school teachers do that. Aunts and uncles do that. Friends around them do that, right? And then at some point we forget, when you're 18, 19, 20, you can take that pen back and you get to write the rest of your life, how it looks. And I was telling my younger self in this letter, like, dude, you're an absolute stud. You've like built 7 companies, sold 3 of them. You're about to sell another one. And you literally give so much money away. You take care of so many people, and you don't even talk about it on your podcast. It wasn't for guys like you that interview me, I would never talk about Shriners, Toys for Tots, Compassion International. And because of guys like you and the stages that I'm on, which by the way, 100% of my speaking fee, the $50,000 I get paid to speak goes directly to Shriners. I got 11 Shriners blankets. So if you've ever been to Shriners as a child to get a medical surgery that your family couldn't pay for, they give you a blanket like that on your way out once you've gotten the surgery as like, hey, you've healed, whether you're a burn victim, cleft palate, spinal issues, kids who need wheelchairs. And you forget a wheelchair costs $10,000, $12,000 and a kid will keep outgrowing it. So they'll need several until they're adults. Shriners pays for all that for families who can't afford it. I share this with you because a dear friend of mine who was a cop in the 90s, Tony Saya, his wife left him after they had a child who was deformed. So on a cop's salary, he raised a deformed child with a defective spine. Shriners paid for everything. Mm. And so when he told me about this, I'm like, dude, I don't have a lot of money to donate. I'll donate $20 to Shriners. That was 15 years ago. Now we donate millions. But I've got 11 Shriners blankets now because people that come to my speaking events who were benefited from Shriners will give me their blanket. Mm. And so I share this with you because I wrote in that letter, like, who you have become is an absolute stud. Like, you should be proud of yourself. I'm proud of you. And it was like tears and waterworks. Probably same with you when you're writing this. And then of course, when I was done, I reread it and I was so impressed with that little dude. And then of course, when I told Kevin this, because I then printed it all out and took it to Kevin, look at this, man, 11 pages. I'm so impressed with that little dude. He goes, can you say I'm so impressed with myself? I was like, oh shit. I realized
that you are that person.
I am that person. Yeah, I am that person. And so what a great feeling.
After I wrote that letter to myself, I actually started to talk to myself even now. Mm-hmm. So let's say I'm having a great day, had a great day at the gym, did a good day in sales. I actually record myself telling myself that the times when I'm not feeling good or kind of down and depressed or in my own thoughts, I go back to the videos that when I was on top of the mountain, I listen to myself, encouraging myself, hey, this is just today. This wasn't yesterday. You did good yet the other day. You got to get out of it. You can do this. You motivate yourself because you're going to listen to yourself more than anybody else.
Self-talk is the most powerful talk you can listen to, man, ever.
I got videos galore.
Good for you, man.
You had a good day with your son today. You had a good day with your wife today, or whatever it is. You go back to those videos and you can play it. Yeah, and let yourself be your best life coach.
I love that. That's great.
So I have a couple of questions right here. I'm going to go over with you. What's in business, because you're a business coach, right, to a lot of entrepreneurs.
Yep.
What's the biggest excuse almost everyone hides behind?
I think the biggest excuse everyone hides behind is competition, economy, or they weren't brought up to be an entrepreneur, right? Those are the top three. Well, competition's steep. Otherwise, I could make it. The economy's not right. Otherwise, I'd launch a business or it would be doing better. Or I wasn't taught to be I wasn't born in the Trump family, learning how to make money. Okay, neither was I. And I started Fit Body Bootcamp after the 2008 housing market crash. Unemployment was at 12%, ridiculous, right? And so when we make excuses like that, that ends up negatively impacting our belief systems, and our belief systems determine our actions, and our actions determine our outcome.
Our belief systems are just stories that we told ourselves that we actually believed.
Yeah.
And that story you can change.
Absolutely.
Those beliefs you can change. The conversations just have to change.
Yeah. Again, there's many blank pages in your story of life. Just because I was not taught to be an entrepreneur doesn't mean I can't become a world-class entrepreneur.
That's right. So let's say there's somebody listening and watching right now and has a couple $1,000s in their bank account and have been watching podcasts and they want to get into this entrepreneur business world. What would you recommend them invest that couple $1,000s in? Good. Themselves, marketing, sales, what?
Yeah. If you've only got a couple $1,000s and you want to be an entrepreneur, the best investment to get the highest return on investment on that is to invest it in self-development and grow yourself and heal yourself from the shit that you've experienced as a child that you're hiding from. Because we're really good, especially as men, at compartmentalizing and hiding from it and then saying that it doesn't affect us. No, it affects you, and it'll come out during the worst times when you're not prepared. Because $2,000 isn't going to get you enough leads. $2,000 isn't going to buy you an employee. $2,000 isn't going to get you enough inventory. So you're like, all right, well, so you spend the $2,000 on your self-development, then how do you become an entrepreneur? You figure out what it is that you want to do. So let's say I want to eventually do what you're doing. In fact, I'm going to give you a better example. Talk about a guy named Rich Mujica. Rich Mujica wanted to do exactly what I'm doing, run a big multi-million-dollar company. So he saw an ad and he connected the dots that Fit Body Bootcamp was hiring sales reps. This is 10 years ago. my company, Fit Body Bootcamp, was hiring sales reps. Well, he followed me on social media, so he knew Fit Body Bootcamp founder and CEO is Bedros Keuilian. And he knew that I've got all these other companies, I speak on stages, and Rich is like, man, I want to be doing that, right? How do I get free mentorship from him? Well, I'm going to go and apply and work for him. So he applies to work for me. And the HR did the first interview, and Richard passed the first interview, very motivated young man. And then during the second interview, which was with me, I'm like, so what's your ultimate goal? And I'm thinking, he's like going to say, I want to move up in your company and run your entire sales division. He goes, well, you know, in a year or so, after I learn a lot of things from you, I want to go and become an entrepreneur and do my own thing. I was like, wait a minute, man, it's going to take me a good 6 months to teach you to become a great closer so that you can sell franchises for me. So you're saying I only have like a 6-month runway with you after I invest 6 months of time and effort and energy? He's like, oh shit. I was like, hey, you shouldn't have opened your big mouth like that and kind of gave up your plan. But now that you did, if you sign a 4-year contract with me, I will hire you. But I need you to stay 4 years with me. Dude, he stayed 4 years with me. Sold the most franchises of anyone in the company. Went on with my blessing to open up a company called One Call Closers that now does $15 million a year. Came back around and became a coaching client of mine. So he got it all the way up to 5 million, hit the glass ceiling, came back and got a year of coaching with me, domination year, and scaled him in the next 2 years to 15 million. And today he's just an absolute stud. So what do you do if you have $2,000? You invest in your personal growth and development with that $2,000. Then find someone who you want to work, who you want to be like, and work for them. Build their company, get paid mentorship. Like if I want to do exactly what you're doing, I'd rather work for you and help you build your empire and get mentorship by watching, right?
100%. Proximity
is powerful. Maybe ask you questions. Hey boss, can I buy you coffee and maybe you can pour into me? Eventually I want to do what you're doing, but not until I feel until you feel I've paid off my debt to you for teaching me this stuff. Dude, you might pour into me, giving me money, coach me, teach me so much. Now I can save up that money you're giving me and launch a business. You might even end up being an investor.
Yeah, or a business within the business.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's what I would tell people to do. But everyone wants to like, well, I want to go be an entrepreneur now because I've already started creating content on social. You're still wet behind the ears. You got $2,000. If I deploy $200,000, I'll crush you.
What do you tell a business owner, like you mentioned, that is at that 1 or 3 million glass ceiling to get them to that $5-10 million plus?
Oh, I can tell you, any business owner that's stuck at $1 to $3 million, it's because they're the most highest paid employee in their own company. They're doing shit that they should be delegating. They're only, and in fact, a podcast of mine went out today, our 200th episode, and I talk about LSD. Generate leads, make sales, and then delegate everything else. That's all. What they're doing is lead generation and sales is an afterthought. They're doing too much operations and bookkeeping and writing payroll and inventory and packaging up shit and doing the sales process themselves instead of hiring a salesperson, teaching them the sales process, and then deploying that salesperson and then developing a sales team. That's how you scale. And so they're the highest paid employee because sales and marketing become an afterthought. They do all the other operational bullshit, which is why they become the highest paid employee of the company, and they don't delegate enough. And if they just did that, they would break through.
Why do you think somebody doesn't delegate as soon as they should?
Fear, belief systems. Like, am I a good leader? Who am I to tell this guy what to do? Like, you know, especially like if you're younger and you're going to hire someone older, you're like, I'm going to tell this older person what to do. Like, yeah. Like we've got team members at HQ who are in their early 30s and they're leading 40 and 50-year-olds. Like, I don't care. You got the competency, start leading. And so there's usually some kind of internal fear and friction that they're having, you know, like, who am I to do this? Like, what if it doesn't work? Well, you know, what if they screw it all up and I go bankrupt? No one's going to screw it up that bad. Or when people go, do you know what it's going to cost to hire someone? $80,000 to hire someone. Bro, you're not paying him $80,000 today. You're probably going to pay him, what, $6,000, $7,000 a month. So within the first 2 months, you'll know whether you made the right decision or not. If you did, keep paying him because you're making money off him. If you didn't, fire him and get somebody else. But they like grandize this big thing in their head and get so scared and they go, fuck it, I'll do it all myself. And they stay small.
What do you tell the young entrepreneur who has a lot of employees who are much older than him, how to be able to earn that level of respect from the people and still being able to have that leadership in there?
Yeah.
Because we, as in our age, it's sometimes there's a challenge listening to somebody that's much younger than you, even though they may know certain things that you don't know.
You're absolutely right. And so if a younger founder is going to be leading older employees and team members, this young man or woman needs to show up in a way that completely wins the respect of these people. And the example I'll give you is what my good friend, Father Michael Butler, said. I met him in Cancun. We were speaking at a event. He's the most jacked priest you'll ever see, bro. Like, awesome human being. And he was still doing the priest thing. And I'm like, dude, you're so jacked. He goes, yeah, I do bodybuilding shows. I'm like, what? How old are you? 62 years old. You look amazing. And he goes, well, I realize the church that I run in Michigan, a lot of young men come to it. And he goes, for them to respect me, I have to be in the best shape of my life. And I can't be a meek priest. Like, and he was very like masculine. Definitely had a very kind heart, but very masculine. And you were like, man, this is a good dude, and you look at him, you're like, all right, you pay your dues in the gym. That's great. And so he won the respect of these young men who were walking into his parish. And so what he told me is, he goes, for these young men to bleed, I must hemorrhage. And I thought that was so powerful. And so if you're a young founder or CEO, for your team to bleed, you're going to have to hemorrhage. You have to outwork them, outshine them, outproduce them, and still be humble about it. So they go, holy shit, this young man has a stripes. Like, I will follow him. And that's what it takes.
You mentioned a lot about your kids, your son.
Yeah.
I'm a father. Right? I love my kids. Let's just say at your eulogy, what is one thing that you'd want your son to say about his dad?
We had so much fun and had so many great experiences. And in that process of having fun and experiences, he would say, Dad taught me how to be loving, humble, violent, and a servant. And that's exactly who he is. And that's because what I found is, with our daughters, you've got a daughter, you can sit your daughter down and be like, hey, honey, let's talk face to face. And it works. With our sons, especially once they're past their teens, testosterone's coursing through their system, all men. Like, if you and I are going to, short of like this kind of thing, if you and I really want to be vulnerable, we're going to go on this like 30-mile hike where we're both facing that way. And about 15 miles in, when we are done with the surface conversations, the real conversations begin to kick in
100%.
When we're in pain and suffering. And so Andrew and I do jujitsu together. We surf together. We go to knife fighting. Literally, Harley Elmore, who teaches SEAL Team 6 how to knife fight in Wichita, Texas. Again, shout out to SEAL Team 6 guy, Dom Rosso, who makes Dynamis knives. I collect a lot of fixed blade knives. And Dom and I are friends, and he sent me a few knives, and I started buying from him. I'm like, dude, who do you guys learn how to knife fight from? He goes, oh man, this guy named Harley Elmore in Wichita Falls, Texas. Like, how do I learn from him? Because the YouTube videos just don't look like the real thing. He's like, oh yeah, you don't want to learn from YouTube. He connects me with Harley, and Andrew was 15. And so we go for 2 days. We're using trainer knives on big dudes, and like full on trainer knives, aluminum, blunt ended. And we're going through this experience with him. But I share this with you because my son and I have done so many experiences like that. And on the flights, in the fighting, during the breaks, life lessons are shared. And today he parrots those back to me. He goes, Dad, do you remember when we were driving in Dallas and we were listening to my mumble rap? And I forget where we were going. I was like, oh, son, we were going to go do camping and learn like survival skills and all this shit, right? He goes, oh, yeah. He goes, remember you told me, son, one day you're not going to just listen to mumble rap. You're going to listen to other kind of music. He goes, remember when I told you I got upset with you? He goes, you're right. I listen to 21 Pilots now, and I listen to this, and I listen to that. Those lessons land, but they have to be delivered during a time when you're doing something fun together. Yeah.
What's something that you feel and see a lot of people care about that you no longer care about?
Status. People care about status. And I think social media has produced more narcissists than ever before. People care about how they look and the status that they give off and portray on social media. I'll put up a post based on how I'm feeling, and it'll get 10 likes, I'll put up a post and it'll get 15,000 likes. It's not based on who I'm trying to get as a lead or how I'm trying to influence people or what status I'm trying to show. Like today, I finished a workout, my hat's backwards, I'm sweaty, I'm driving in my car and the Bluetooth is recording the audio. And so it's like shitty, but I'm like, hey, we just put out our 200th episode of the BK Show. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys. And just drop that. Like I got 3 full-time guys who are my videographers. Could I have come to HQ and showered and done it properly? Yeah, I don't care. The old me cared about that stuff. How the appearance, the status, the reputation on social mattered. The reputation I care about is this. Like, I always assume my son and daughter have a live feed on their iPhone and there's like a drone flying over me and it's constantly recording audio and video and they have a live feed. They can log in and see what is dad doing. That's the reputation I care about. Is dad keeping the promises that he made? Is he walking the walk, talking the talk? A lot of people still care about status on social media, and that's fine. I was there too in my 30s. I'm also on a different path. I'm 52. I've had exits in my company. I've got the battle scars. If you didn't know me and you saw me on the street, you'd be like, just some chump. And that's what I want to be seen as.
How important is it to keep promises that you make to yourself?
I think it's your credit score with yourself. And I think if we all had a floating thought bubble over our head that had a credit score, and that credit score was not what we did for others, but the promises that we keep to ourselves. Because what do we say? I'll die for my kids. And I always say, well, would you live for your kids? Would you eat clean for your kids? Would you work out right for your kids? Would you give up devices for your kids? Would you be present for your kids? Would you give up pornography for your kids? Would you be an example for your kids? Oh, but I die for them. They actually will learn by example more than you dying for them. I get it, and I could respect that part. And so to keep the promises to yourself, like, hey, you want your kid to be fit, you want them to eat right, you want them to be present, you want them to be intentional in life, you be it. And you do that by keeping the promises to yourself. I'm going to wake up at this time without hitting the snooze button, go right to the gym and work out, track my macros all day long, get rid of this fucking gelatinous titties on my chest and have, a lean body with abs. And bro, I got a torn tricep from 5 weeks ago that I'm healing. I'm going to Jocko's jiu-jitsu camp in 4 weeks with my son, Andrew. For a whole week, we're going to do jiu-jitsu 3 times a week. I'm taking all types of peptides to heal this fucking thing. I still have abs. I still get after it. I got legs like tree trunks. And it's not because I'm genetically inclined. I'm genetically inclined to be fat. It's because I just get after it. Because if Andrew and Chloe see, oh, well, dad hit 50 and he's declining, that gives them permission to hit 50 and decline. No, like I will maintain whatever top physique looks like at whatever age I'm at until I take my final breath. Same with how I treat people. I can't all of a sudden go, well, because I'm this guy and I've built this many companies, I could just be dismissive of the server at a restaurant. No, man, I was a busboy and I didn't like when people dismissed me. One story I didn't tell is, you work at Disneyland long enough and you're good at what you do. When movie theaters or movie companies had premieres, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Cher, Sylvester Stallone, you name it, like all these companies, when they built movies around these characters that have private parties, I was a busboy at these private parties. I remember one time coming to take an empty cup away. There's still like a little bit of drink in it. And Casey Kasem snapped at me. Hey, I'm not done. And he grabs it out of my hand. Bro, first off, you're not even paying for that. Like, you're a celebrity. Everything's free. Secondly, I get it. I'm just a busboy. But maybe one day I become somebody.
Exactly.
And maybe one day, Casey, your kids follow me or your grandkids follow me and they read my book and then they send me a message, which is exactly what's happened. And I've been super good to them because Casey Kasem is Armenian like me.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
And he died, and God rest his soul. And maybe he was having a bad day. See, then I held a grudge against him for a decade. These days, I'm like, he was probably having a bad day. He's Casey Kasem. He's one of many celebrities. Whoopi Goldberg was at this particular premiere and whatever. And, he took it out. He kicked the lowest person on the totem pole. That's it. Good for you, right? But you never know who anybody becomes.
Yeah.
And karma is fair and justice will be served.
I've always took care of the busboys and the waitresses.
Yeah.
Those are like, I can get along with all types of people, but I can get along with them just as good, if not even better. I'll treat them better than the owner of the building.
Right. Right. The Japanese have a saying. They say, like, if you want to control your competitor's company, befriend the janitor. and for the next 20 years be good to their janitor, who will work up from janitor to assembly line, to head of operations, to director of operations, to VP, to CEO, and then you will control that company.
That's right.
That's the strategy.
Let's say God came to you and told you, Bedros, you have 1 year left to live. How would you live that year?
I would have even more experiences with my family. I would just have more experiences. I would probably post less on social media. I still would post on social media. I'd let the world know that I've got a year to live, and I let it rip. Not like I don't. I'm authentically and brutally honest. I am me. But if I have a year to live, I'm imagining I would get even greater downloads from God, and I would share that. But more than that, I would just have more experiences with even more experiences. And trust me, like last night, we closed down K1 racing in Anaheim, my son and I, because we're trying to get into the 26.5 or less for a full lap, 26 seconds. And if you're in the 25 seconds, you're like world records. But like, because I can't do jujitsu right now. So immediately we're like, well, what can we do? We like driving fast cars. We're not going to go drive it on the canyons, obviously, all the time, because that's how you end up dying or getting tickets. So we go to K1, and we literally are there twice a week now, and we close the place down both days that we're there. We go like at 7 p.m. So I'd add a third day. I would just have more experiences if I had a year to live with my family, because at the end of the day, who else do I have to impress? Do I want to spend time with? The people I love.
Let's say there's that male, that female that's watching, that's out of shape, that's maybe depressed, that's looking in the mirror and sees himself like, what am I going to do with my body? What do you tell that person?
Yeah, well, you can't control a lot of things in your life. And if the person's depressed, odds are something's happened to them. Most of the time, if it's a true chemical depression, right? Some people have it. Like I was diagnosed to be bipolar. And so I will definitely go into manic depressive states throughout the year. I'll have these windows of time where I'll have manic depressive states.
Do you believe that you're bipolar, whatever that means?
I choose to reject it.
Yeah.
That's just me. I choose to reject it. I choose to not be medicated by it. But I'll have those states. I could be winning. I could be in a winning season, and I'll just wake up angry and sad. And I know what to do. I send out 3 gratitude text messages every morning. So the 3 become 5 gratitude text messages. Like I know I just go into hyper, be a good human mode and force myself out of that. Work out twice a week or twice a day instead of once a day. And people are like, but you're overtraining, bro. Shut the front door. Like, let me overtrain because I want those dopamine hits. Like, I don't stop you from smoking weed twice a day. Don't stop me from getting the dopamine hits from my workouts twice a day. And you're doing jujitsu? Yes. How about that? 3 workouts a day. And I get it. I'm breaking down muscle. I don't give a shit. I'm getting myself out of the funk without medication. And that takes a lot of mental stamina.
Yep.
And so someone's depressed, something has happened to them. Maybe they lost their job. Maybe the business isn't working well. Maybe the loved one dumped them. You can't fix any of that overnight. What you can fix starting today, this minute, is what is the next thing you put in your mouth. Something shitty or something healthy to help you look and feel your best. So control what you eat and then get to the gym. Those things, you control the controllables. Control what you can, cope with what you can't control, and then concentrate on what counts, the 3 C's. And so you control the controllables, because now all of a sudden the flubber starts falling off your body and you have this, like, you look in the mirror and you're like, oh, I see like definition of abs. Man, I see my shoulders are getting capped. Man, people are looking at me different. All the other things will fall in line, because what is required of a man or a woman to get in the best shape of their life is also what's required to thrive in a healthy relationship or to grow a very strong, profitable business. Discipline, consistency, work ethic, and delayed gratification.
And you mentioned relationship. What do you tell that man that's a business owner, who's married, who has kids? How does he balance that? Or how does he figure out and navigate through there where he's being a good businessman but not neglecting his wife, or being a good husband but not neglecting his business or his kids?
Yeah. I think I've come to this conclusion that there is no such thing as balance for an entrepreneur specifically, right? Any high performer. Look at a Super Bowl level athlete, right? Football player, anyone. But there is this work-life mix that you can do, because there's seasons. There's seasons that I've had to work for months on straight, or I've kept a toothbrush at the HQ. It's just how it is. but it was with intention and with communication to my family that this is what we're doing and this is the outcome I'm going to produce in this much months, hopefully if all goes well, right? If all goes well. So you communicate, number one. You understand that there's a work-life mix. And so, yes, there's seasons of that. There's also seasons where I just spend a lot of time with the family. Because of how I work, where I speak on weekends, I'll typically fly out on a Friday, speak Saturday, come back Sunday. I would miss out on weekends with my kids. So the private school that we had our kids at, Loving Savior in Chino Hills, we asked Mrs. Wen, the principal, hey, as long as they maintain a 3.8 or higher GPA, is it cool if we take them out of school 2 days a week on the weeks that I'm speaking? If I'm speaking on a weekend and I missed a weekend with my kids, can mom and dad pull the kids out? She's like, yeah, sure. Great. So weekends for us was like a Monday and a Tuesday. Monday we'd go to Disneyland, Tuesday we'd go to the beach, and that was a weekend. So it's a work-life mix. And so the big thing I could tell a man, because us men, we're designed to conquer, like conquer things and then put it on the shelf and then go on and conquer the next thing. And so think about the things you do to find your spouse. You know, you'll stay awake late at night, you'll message, you'll call, you'll do all these things, you'll break your pattern of life and sleep, etc., because you're just trying to win her over and you're madly in love with her. And then you put a ring on it and then you start a business, the next phase of life, because you want to build a big giant nest and have security and protection for the little puppies that you're going to have. But now your wife feels like this business is like the other woman. And so I have to remind men that your wife is the only person you chose in life. You didn't choose your parents. You came from them. You didn't choose your siblings. You were born with them. You didn't choose your kids. They were gifted to you. I don't know about you, but my 2 kids are very different from one another. Love them both, but they're just very different in personality, right? The only person you chose, and who chose you is your spouse. So knowing that, if you treat your business like the other woman, or she feels like your business is the other woman, well, then she's going to start treating you as though you are cheating on her, right? You're going to get a cold shoulder. You're going to get pouty experience at home. So just plan date nights, still court her, you know, take time out. If you're out on a date, put your phone away. These simple things, be present, be intentional. And if you can do that, you can run your business and have a family. Your kids aren't going to feel neglected. Your spouse isn't going to feel neglected. Same with your health, by the way. You can't all of a sudden like, okay, well, I've got a great family life, great business, but you know, the body's got to, no. Average American scrolls for 3 hours a day on social media. How about you just carve out 1 hour and get your fat ass into the gym and work out?
Do an audit on your life.
That's it. It ain't rocket science, but people make it complex intentionally and then go, it's so complex that I can't do it. No, it's actually very easy.
That's my life too. You know, there's people that I'm always spinning all these different plates and I'm wearing all these different hats. Well, wear one hat with multiple logos. When you go to the business, you're a business owner, but you're still a father. You don't put the hat of a father down and become a business owner.
Right.
You don't go to the gym and then put the hat down of a husband. You're that everywhere you go. So if you think about yourself as a hat, one hat with all these logos, you take everything with you. Like you're going to go and speak, but you take your kids with you. You're not a speaker only at that time and you're not a father. No, you are able to bring it together.
Yeah.
We as men and business owners need to understand that you can do all of it. And there would be times and seasons maybe where you're spending a little bit more time than others, but that communication is important. Hey, you know, son, hey, daughter, I'm going to be out of town doing this, but I'm going to still be thinking about you. Call me. I still want to say your prayers. FaceTime me at night. I still want to see you and talk to you, text you, let you know I'm here for you. I'm over here inspiring all these other people. How am I going to neglect my own daughters, my own son, right? You have to be able to know who you are and that you are who you are everywhere you go.
That's it.
You take yourself with you.
I heard Goggins say this on the Joe Rogan show. Because when Goggins put out his second book, Joe Rogan's like, dude, I appreciate you coming on the show and let's promote your book. He goes, but why are you going on all these different podcasts? Like all these different podcasts would love to have you on their shows and you could really blow your book up. He's like, Joe, I have to say no so many times to speaking opportunities, business opportunities, promotional opportunities, because there's a certain quality of life I want to live. I want to run whatever it is, 14 miles a day that he runs, and he wants to work out 9 times a day. And then he wants to like yell at the camera, you know, eight times a day while running and say, stay hard. For all that to happen, he has to develop the skill of saying no. And I think that's a very powerful thing. As you know, and there's levels to this game, the more you grow, the more opportunities you get.
Correct.
And so I've got opportunities being thrown at me. Bedros will give you 10% equity in this, 15% equity in that, 20% equity in that. It's easy to want to say yes because it panders to the ego. And I think about the money and my greed gland starts secreting. And then I go, whoa, fella. You're about to send your daughter to college. In 3 weeks, we send her off to college. Do I want to use those 3 weeks differently?
Correct.
Yes. And do I want to be as free as I can be so that I could see my daughter as often as I want? Yes. And so for all those reasons, I've mastered the art of saying no. And so you say no to all the things that are distractions so you could say yes to the handful of things that are priorities.
Correct. That was always my goal. Financial freedom, but coming to a place where I can say no.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Rather than saying yes to everything.
Exactly.
You spread yourself thin and then you're a master of nothing.
That's exactly it, man. And then your kids go, okay, well, we had a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But not a lot of memories.
Correct.
Like, bro, I could think of, and I love my dad to pieces. I love my dad to pieces. And I get it. Like, I was the oops baby. And, he was in his 40s when I was born. And we came to America. I can remember doing one thing with him one time. We went fishing off the pier in Huntington Beach. And I could remember it so clearly, so vividly. We had the bucket. We had the little tackle box. It was green. We had a little rusty knife. And we had the 2 fishing poles. And we went like at 4 o'clock in the summertime. And we stayed until it was like 10 o'clock at night. And it was such a beautiful experience.
Probably meant the world to you.
Still does. Still does. Now, if you had Andrew and Chloe sitting here and you gave them a marker board, they could just list things off. And that's not like I'm not trying to compete. But at the end of the day, again, I'm just channeling my therapist, Kevin Downing. I was like, Kevin, my wife doesn't understand, man, why I need to build all these companies, right? This is like now 15 years ago, this conversation. So I was still like in the 1 phases, probably like 1.8 version of myself. I go, the wife doesn't understand, the kids are small. This is the time that I got to build and, big house and lots of opportunities. We're trying to buy a house in Maui as well because we go to Maui every year since the kids were born and da-da-da-da-da. And he's just belly laughing. I go, why are you laughing for, man? Like, what am I missing here, Kevin? And he goes, do you know what your wife wants? He goes, imagine like she's a mom bird and you have 2 little chicks that have hatched in the nest. And you're saying, I'm going to build a bigger nest with multiple stories on a higher tree. And she's just like, I'm happy with the nest. Can you just stand on the edge of the nest and spread your wings and make us feel loved and protected?
That's all they want.
Bro, when he told me that, I was like, ay. Because we are used to just achievement and achievement and achievement because I did good, right? Right? I did good. I achieved something. Yeah, but at what cost?
Correct.
At what cost? I was stuck in Hurricane Sandy. Chloe was 4 years old. Andrew was 6. Chloe was in gymnastics. So I'm in New York City, stuck in Hurricane Sandy, no power in the hotel. Everything's flooded. Flights are not flying. I'm stuck because I had a speaking gig. Chloe is 4 years old in gymnastics because it was a weekend because I speak on weekends. She goes over this tumbles over some bar and breaks her arm. My wife takes her to the doctor, the ER, and Andrew's jumping around on the chair, falls and hits his head on a table and busts a tooth. Both kids are crying. I'm stuck in Hurricane Sandy in New York City. She's calling me and I feel helpless. And I remember thinking like, was doing this event going to pay the mortgage or we were about to lose the house? No. We were already in a place where we were doing fine. Going back to status, it made me feel good. It built my status. I was on stage with Gary Vaynerchuk and so many other big names while my family's suffering and I can't get to them. What's it worth? It wasn't worth that. And that was one of the pivotal moments for me. Like, what's it worth? It wasn't worth that.
As we kind of wind down now and come to a close, I want to go over what, we call like a lightning round.
Sure.
Right. I'm going to ask, I'll say a word and then you give me one word or one sentence, what it means to you.
Sure.
Okay. So success is?
Freedom.
Failure is?
Try again.
Leadership is?
Influence and respect.
Money is?
Vehicle to freedom.
Discipline is?
A byproduct of your standards.
Marriage is?
A partnership that's probably one of the greatest forms of self-development.
Fatherhood is?
Sacrifice.
Legacy is?
Your kids' reputation in the future, like looking out. Legacy is looking out for their future, right? If I ruin my last name and I die, like, the Hitler kids, they chose not to have kids, and they changed their last name so that the Hitler name dies off, right? Like, he left a very bad legacy. So legacy is looking out for your kids.
God is?
Certainty.
And lastly, what is the best version of me mean to you?
That I'm not going to compete with those around me, but I will compete with the last best version of myself, because that's all I can do. As humans, I believe we have this natural desire to compare and contrast against the people around us who are within the same ranks. But dude, I don't know what your tolerance of pain is and frustration. Mine might be less or more. I don't know what your risk tolerance is, your frustration tolerance is. And so you might do more faster than me, and it'll frustrate me. I just need to compare myself to how I was yesterday. And that's the best version of me.
Last question. Let's just say, God forbid, this is your last interview you ever did, and you're able to speak to the people who are watching, listening to this. What would you tell them?
I would tell them that no matter what happened to you, whether it was from your parents, whether it was from aunts, uncles, grandparents, whether it was school teachers or just people in the neighborhood, whatever happened to you does not need to continue to happen to you. That's not your story. See, when things happen to us when we're kids, we develop the story that we tell ourselves. And then we use that story to look for evidence in life to reinforce that identity. And so the story builds an identity. Oh, I guess I'm a loser. I guess I'm unworthy because I was sexually abused and beat up. So I'm obviously not lovable. I'm unworthy. That was the story I told myself. So then my identity was that I'm just replaceable. In fact, I spoke very quickly. I never took a pause because I figured people wanted me to speak up and be done, right? And so because of that, I learned years later, no, I am worthy. I am lovable, and I do have value to myself. And so whatever happened to you is not your story. It's just a little speed bump on your timeline of life. You can take that empty pages that belong in the book of life and rewrite how the story goes from here and develop a new identity and a new self and a new belief system. And if you can do that, your life could start becoming different from today's forward. Oftentimes we do well on that story and we stay a victim, and that doesn't serve you or the people that you're responsible for.
That's a good answer. Now, if somebody wanted to find you or follow you, how can they get in contact with you?
Best way to find me or follow me is either on YouTube at Bedros Keuilian or Instagram at Bedros Keuilian.
Bedros, I really appreciate you taking the time to come here and have a conversation to inspire people to be in the best version of me. I have a lot of respect for you.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed this conversation, and I know people are going to get a lot of value out of it. So I thank you, and maybe in the future we'll do it again.
It'd be a pleasure. Thank you.